Hey, what's up everybody? Hammerheart Metal Reviews here once again. Today we're doing something a little bit different, just gonna have a little bit of fun. I'm gonna be talking about my 10 favorite black metal bands or favorite 10 black metal albums that are from bands that only released one album. So this is talking about bands that released an album, like a full length, and then either disbanded or just unknown status. So criteria is to make this list, like I'm not including any recent bands that have just put out their debut album, say in the last 5 years, and it seems like for sure they're going to release another album. I can make a whole like top 50 list of bands that had excellent debuts in the last 5 years. So that's not the point of this list. I only want to include like inactive bands or ones that really seem doubtful, like they're going to release another album. And so yeah, really nothing that was released within the last 5 years. Those don't qualify for the purposes of my video anyways. And before I get into this, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. I did put this list together pretty quickly. I didn't do a lot of in-depth research here. I just kind of went off the top of my head with albums that popped in there. So I'm sure I'm going to miss some, just making clear oversights of stuff I love that I'm just not thinking of off the top of my head. So I'd love to hear yours down below. What are your favorite black metal albums by bands that only put out one album? Or if you have a YouTube channel yourself, go do a response video and give me a list as well. I'd love to see stuff like that. So anyways, without further ado, let's get right into this. So coming in at number 10, I'm going with the band Ulsas and their album Cherish the Obscure. So this was released in 2000. This is very symphonic black metal. These guys are probably more well known because Valfar from Windir recruited the entire band to join Windir for their 1184 album, which I have a poster of right there. Like Valfar had released the first two Windir albums doing everything himself, but then he brought in all the guys from Ulsas to do 1184 and then Lickford as well. Then of course after Valfar died, the rest of Windir, or the guys from Ulsas, went on to form Vride. So there is a lot of history behind this band, but this is where these guys started. And yeah, so it's very similar in style to Windir, but I don't think it's quite as good as Windir, to be honest, but it's still a very enjoyable album. Maybe the keys and synths are a little overpowering at times, but there's still some really awesome songs on here. Harsh vocals, some great riffs. The Profound Power is probably my favorite song on the album. They actually redid that song on the like Valfar tribute album. So yeah, just a solid one to go check out if you've never heard of them before. It's definitely a lesser known one. Up next at number 9, this is the most recent one on this list. It is actually only 5 years old, but it is a band that is definitely not releasing any more albums. They split up. I am talking about Pillorian and their album Obsidian Arc from 2017. This, of course, is the band that John from Agalok went on to form, like the guitarist and vocalist from Agalok. After they disbanded, went to form this band, brought in the drummer from Uada, of course no longer in Uada because he left to join Pillorian. And yeah, this is very similar in style to Agalok, but definitely more black metal-ish than Agalok. Not that I'm knocking Agalok. Agalok is better than Pillorian for sure. But nonetheless, this is just like a little bit of a harsher edge to it than most of Agalok's discography, but it's still got a lot of similarities too, still bringing in some acoustic guitars, a few clean sung parts here and there, but the majority of the vocals on this album are harsher in tone, and it's just, yeah, it's a very solid release. I know a lot of people didn't like this one when it came out, but I think it's pretty solid. I actually think this might even be better than The Serpent and the Sphere. The rest of Agalok's discography definitely beats this album out, but this one would be right on par with Serpent and the Sphere anyways, in my opinion. Best songs on here, A Vestige of Thorns, Darkest River of Man is the closing track. That one's absolutely awesome. My favorite track on the album. And anyways, if you've never checked this out, definitely go give it a listen. Up next at number 8, I'm going with a supergroup, with their album Between Two Worlds from 2006. So this is a supergroup of Norwegian black metal musicians. Of course, Abeth from Immortal, who was on guitar and vocals, King of Hell from Gorgoroth on bass. You have Icedale from Enslaved on lead guitar, Armageddon, formerly from Immortal, on drums, and Demonaz, of course, from Immortal, doing the lyrics. So you'd think that this sounds exactly like Immortal with so many dudes associated with them in the band, but no, it's a different beast, and it's got a really cool vibe to it. It's like a fun album. bringing in more of a black and roll style feel to a lot of the songs, but then it's also got a few like epic Viking black metal songs in there too. Like my favorite song on the album is Far Beyond the Quiet, which is dedicated to Corthon from Bathory, and it really has a Viking era Bathory feel to it, and it's just excellent. Like I fucking love that song so much. The title track, Between Two Worlds, is great. Storm I Ride's kind of got like a Motorhead rock feel to it, but it's just a fun album. It's really well executed. They did disband. I think this is the only album they're putting out. Of course, now with Abbott going solo and doing his stuff there, but this is a solid release nonetheless, and you should go check it out if you haven't listened to it. Up next at number 7, I'm going with the band Vindland and their album Hanter Savet. So this one is from 2016, so it's a relatively newer one, but the status of this band is unknown. I'm not sure if they're going to be putting anything else out, like even looking on Metal Archives, it doesn't know if they're split up or active, so I'm including it on this list because it is over 5 years old, and it seems like there's a good amount of doubt whether they will put anything else out again. So this album, if you've never heard it, it is Windir Worship, but in the best way. Like, it just captures the vibe from those best Windir albums so perfectly. Windir is one of my favorite bands of all time, so anything that sounds like this, I'm going to at least be somewhat interested in. And these songs are catchy, like it's so fucking melodic and just awesome. The vocals are great. The guitar riffs are great. Just a really solid album from 2016. And if you haven't heard it before, definitely go check it out. I will put all these album titles down below, I should say, in case I'm mispronouncing any of this and you want to go check them out. So don't worry about that. But yeah, check out down below in the description to see which album I'm actually talking about, because I'm probably butchering how to say that album title. Up next at number 6, I'm going with Askival and their album Eternity. So Askival was the one-man band from Scotland. Andy Marshall from Sayor. This was his band before Sayor. And this is maybe more on the folk side than black metal, but it's still considered like folk black metal. I don't think this is quite on the level with any of Sayor's releases. I do prefer Sayor to this. Sayor is one of my favorite fucking bands for sure. They just perfectly capture the Scottish vibes with black metal and just really bringing in great instrumentation. But I'm getting off track here. This isn't talking about Sayor. I'm talking about Askival here. So this kind of has a similar style, but it's not as big in scope. It's not as grandiose. There's definitely a lot of folk elements. And there's just some really catchy songs on here, like Forged in the Fires of Alba, absolutely stellar song. Last March of the White Wolves is like a 15-minute epic. Like all in all, this album is just a really great folk black metal album, and I think it's a little underrated and unknown. So if you're into Sayor or just into like folk black metal at all, definitely go check out Askival's Eternity, because it's just a great listen and it's a solid album. Up next at number 5, going with some US black metal and Weakling with their album Dead as Dreams. So this one is from 2000. This one is like a huge inspiration for a lot of US black metal, especially bands like Wolves in the Throne Room. Their early work, you can clearly hear some similarities to this Weakling album. And like this one, it's a different kind of beast. The songs are so long, so it's kind of a challenging listen, but it's really excellent. It's almost like hypnotic. You'll just be sucked into a trance while listening to this. The vocals are almost more on like the DSBM kind of side of thing, like very depressive and just like shrieking. But the music itself is almost goes in like a progressive direction. The like transcendent riffing is just very different kind of album. It's very like all over the place, but it's very well executed. I wish they would have put out more than just the one album. But if you've never heard this before, like I know it gets high praise, but it's for a reason. This is a very solid album. That's why it's in at number 5. Up next at number 4, I'm going with probably another lesser known one. These guys are also from the USA. They're called Ifing, and their album Against This Weald from 2014. So this is another one where they might still be active and could possibly release another album, but it has been 8 years. I haven't heard anything else from these guys to say that they are putting out another album, so I'm including it on this list because if they do release something else, well, great. I hope that they do, because I would really like to hear another album by these guys. But if you haven't heard them before, this is more in the like Cascadian black metal from the States. So if you're a fan of bands like Falls of Rhoros or Alda or Agalok, like stuff in that vein, then you would really get a kick out of this album, because it's just great songs. There's only 3 songs on this album. One of them is just a short intro, but then the 2 next songs are both like 14, 15 minutes long, and they are both truly excellent songs. The Stream and Realms Forge, just gorgeous, gorgeous songs. The melodies, the clean singing, the harsh vocals. I absolutely love this album to bits. I feel like not enough people know about it. So definitely go check out Ifing's Against This Weald if you're into any bands like that, or if this sounds like something you would like, because it's awesome. Now into the top 3. Coming in at number 3, one that I've got a poster of up there, Gallowbraid with Ashen, Eidolon. So this is from 2010. This was a one-man band. Jake Rogers, the man behind the band, of course, is now famous for being the lead singer in Visigoth, a traditional heavy metal band, but also he's touched so many different black metal projects as well. He's in Kaladan Brood. Hint, maybe I'll be talking about them right away too. He does backup vocals for Stormkeep, like guest vocals, which is absolutely amazing. Like, his clean vocals are so fucking great. Anything this guy touches is just gold, in my opinion. Like, one of my favorite musicians out there for sure. But yeah, Gallowbraid only released the 1 album, and wow, it is a fucking masterpiece. This is another one that would kind of fall in with, like, if you're into bands like Agalok and stuff like that. Like, this is very folky, melodic black metal, but it is so excellent. Like, this is just a truly excellent album. Depending which version you have, on the original release, there was only 4 songs, and 2 of them are like acoustic interludes, so there's really only 2 long songs, more of an EP. But then it did get re-released with a bonus song, so then that kind of becomes a full length, and that bonus song is so goddamn amazing, like one of my favorite songs ever. So on the original release, best songs, Ashen, Eidolon, and Oak and Aspen, just folky black metal excellence. And then the bonus song I'm talking about, Stone Up Remembrance, so goddamn good. Just so many folk elements thrown in there. His clean singing is majestic. It's just a masterpiece. It's a long song, but if you've never heard Stone of Remembrance by Gallowbraid, please do yourself a favor and go listen to it right fucking now, because it is amazing. One of the best songs out there, and that's why this album is in at number 3. Up next at number 2, this is the oldest album on my list, I think. I'm going back to 1996 with the band Vinterland, and Welcome My Last Chapter. So this is some Swedish melodic black metal, very much in the same vein as a band like Dissection. And this album is a masterpiece. This is absolutely great melodic black metal. It's got that Swedish sound, and it is just so well executed. These songs are so catchy. The riffing is great. The vocals are amazing. Everything about this album is amazing. Best songs on here, Wings of Sorrow, A Castle So Crystal Clear, Vinterskogen. Like, I don't even need to name just individual songs. Front to back, this album fucking slays. Absolutely amazing. If you've never heard this before and are into bands like Dissection or Dawn, anything like that, please go listen to this album because it rules. That just leaves one. I kind of dropped a hint about it earlier. I do have a poster of it up there. Kaladan Brood with their album Echoes of Battle from 2013. So this is another one. I don't think they're technically disbanded. They are still active, but it has been 8 years since this album was released. I have serious doubts that they're ever going to release another full length. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I really hope they do, because this album just blew me away. It's probably one of my favorite albums of the last 10 years, easily. This is like summoning worship, but then they might even execute this sound better than like later days summoning somehow. It's so epic, brings in some folk elements. It's all based around the Malazan Book of the Fallen, which is my favorite fantasy book series of all time. If you've never read that, please go listen to that. One of the characters in there is named Kaladan Brood. That's where they got the name from. And all the songs lyrically are based on that fantasy series. So for me, personally, having read the books and then reading these lyrics, it's just like, it's a match made in heaven. It suits black metal so goddamn well. And these songs are so epic. There is not much else out there that is more epic than this. Book of the Fallen, the closing track, the clean singing in there is so grandiose and just great. It's like a church choir almost is what it sounds like. But then the really harsh black metal comes in there, like the black metal rasp. It's got great riffs. The synths and keyboards are just really on point. Maybe the drumming won't be for everyone because it is just programmed drumming, but it suits the music. They're going for that old summoning vibe, and they get it easily. The title track, Echoes of Battle, is great. Wild Autumn Wind. Can name all 6 songs on here as being my favorites because this whole album is fucking amazing. I really, really hope Kaladan Brood puts out one more album, but if they don't, at least we always have this masterpiece to go listen to. Anyways, like I said at the beginning of the video, I'd love to get your thoughts down below. Give me some albums that I've missed. I'm sure I've missed some because I did put this together pretty quick. So let's get a discussion going here. And if you have a channel out there, go give me a response video because I'd love to see that too. Anyways, until next time, give me a like and give me a subscribe. Hammerheart Metal Reviews out.